we'll line our mould. I've got a lovely clean mould, thank you. And then we'll talk about lining it, because my style is a very thin shell, and that's the beauty of Valrhona. When I first started making chocolates, the first chocolate I bought was Manjari, because it was what I developed my sea salted caramel with. And I wanted a very thin shell. And at that time, so this was 2004, 2005, a lot of the handmade chocolates out there were very thick shell and not much filling. And the beauty of Valrhona is it's a very fluid chocolate. You can create a nice thin shell from it. Whereas what I was saying before is chocolates have different viscosities. This is a good one if you want a nice thin shell. Particularly if you've got a fluidy, like a soft caramel filling, and you want to break the shell in your mouth and then the caramel.
So it has a nice snap.
Yeah, but it's very subjective. You make the shells as thick or as thin as you like. It depends on your style. Everyone has a style, and you'll generate that style just by practicing. So I can see now it is setting. It's setting quicker. It will always set from the palette knife flat edge here, but it's got this more kind of satin finish to it.
Which is what we're looking for there.
We're looking for this lovely satin finish. There is so far no streaks or swirls, and it's setting evenly, so it's not patchy.
No.
If you're melting and you see this patchiness, you know it. Sorry, when you're setting it, you see this patchiness, you know it's not right. And it's just worth leaving it and checking it. It's got this pillowy finish to it as well, which means it's kind of chocolate's stayed on the palette knife and it's kind of undulating and flowing. You can see as I move it round. There are some air bubbles, but there always are when you've tempered. But I'm very happy, and I know that's ready for me to shell.
Okay.
No streaks whatsoever.
So with the air bubbles, do you need to be concerned about them when you're shelling?
We do. There's a couple of things we can do. One is to warm the mould slightly. So we're in an air-conditioned room, temperature-controlled. If you were at home in your home kitchen, it probably would be a bit warmer than this, so you wouldn't have to do what I'm going to do next. Excuse me. I'm going to take my heat gun, which could be a hairdryer, but as we're in your kitchen and I've got at home, same heat gun. And I'm just going to warm over very slightly. And I've read lots of things about people saying you should or shouldn't do this. You should have the environment right. You can very rarely get the environment exactly right. And if I think the mould's going to be a bit cold, then when the chocolate goes in, it sets very quick and you get a thick shell. But I like a thin shell. So what I'm going to do is pop the heat on and just waft over very briefly.
So it's just a very, very slight heating of the mould.
It is.
Yeah.
You don't want it hot. All that's doing, it blows out any bits of dust or anything that shouldn't be there if you've got no decoration. And it's just going to take the temperature up slightly, so when I put the chocolate in, it doesn't immediately set.
And what would happen if you accidentally took it too hot?
When you put your tempered chocolate in, it would then become untempered.
Right.
And it would never come out.
So it's all about a very quick heat, not
Yeah.
to overheat them.
Exactly. But I find it works incredibly well and you get a lovely shine. So I've got my palette knife. This is not a palette knife, everyone. This is a ladle. I'm going to hold my mould flat. And this is where we are continually going. Your chocolate is ready. Use it.
Right.
It's ready.
So immediately.
So use it. So
yeah.
use it. Don't go off and do things and have cups of tea. So I'm going to fill my mould. I'm going to work quite quickly. Use the back of the ladle just to pull the chocolate down. You want to scratch the mould by digging it in. Give it a little shake. And then with my mould scraper, so the wider one, I'm going to take off the excess chocolate into the bowl. Doing it this way means I've got more chocolate to use here. I'm going to tap it to get the air bubbles out. So on the edge, and you can see them popping up.
Yeah.
So they're rising straight to the surface then.
Yeah. If they're on the bottom, you can end up with a hole through your chocolate or an air bubble on the surface. And then we're going to invert it to get the chocolate out. And tap the mould to get the chocolate out. Some of it's going to miss the bowl, don't worry.
Okay.
Scrape away. Tap again. Keep it upside down, scrape away. And then place the mould upside down on the paper.
Is there a reason that you place it upside down?
If you place it the other way, which is the wrong way up, so that's what your chocolate will look like finished, so upside down, then the chocolate can flow into the base of the chocolate
Right.
mould, or this top bit, and you end up with an uneven shell. If you place it down, then gravity pulls the chocolate down and hits the paper, and you end up with a lip for your base to stick to.
Right, okay.
So does that assist with a thinner shell as well, then it gets rid of that
It
excess
does,
chocolate?
yeah. These, I know from just shelling these right now, they're slightly thicker than I would have liked, but that's because new kitchen, new materials, new environment. I now know that the chocolates was a touch thick. I could have warmed it up a little bit more. However, I have seen a lot on videos where people are shelling the chocolate and tipping it upside down so the chocolate falls onto the paper. If you do that, then you haven't got enough chocolate to do your next mould. That is just for social media and
Right.
films, because it's very beautiful to watch the chocolate flow out. If you're doing this at home or for a business, you would tap that chocolate back into your tempered chocolate, mix it, do your next mould, tap it into. Does that make sense?
And you don't need to worry about it getting too cool as it comes out of the mould. Would you need to reheat your...
It will
chocolate?
cool down,
Yeah.
so this is where your hairdryer or heat gun comes in. And you warm your chocolate very gently, 15 to 20 seconds. You can use your thermometer to check it's the right temperature. And that will mean that this chocolate in your little bain-marie, your large bain-marie, your vat, is ready to use for the next mould and the next mould and the next mould. But if you keep tipping it out onto the paper, you're going to run out of chocolate.
Yeah.
So I always like to say, there is a lot out there on social media that is built for social media to make one mould look beautiful and the process look beautiful. However, when it comes to manufacturing and you're making 10, 20 or 30 moulds worth, you need the chocolate to be in that one vat so you can keep going.
So it's more efficient.
Way more efficient. And the longer it takes you to make them, the less money you make if you're selling your chocolates. You need to be streamlined. Again, any of these bits of chocolate that I'm scraping off, I just don't want, they're set and I don't want them to go inside my tempered chocolate.
So how long would you leave this mould for to set?
Perfect question. I was expecting that question. Because we've got one, I'm just going to leave it for about 2 minutes.
Okay.
If you're doing 5 or 10 moulds, by the time you've finished your 5th one or your 10th one, the first one will be ready. All it is at this stage is to allow the chocolate to set a little bit, not fully, and hit the paper. As you can see, this looks very dark brown
Yeah.
on the mould. And once it's released, it will go like a silvery brown because it's come away from the mould. So you can't tell even now if it's going to release.
Oh, so you've got to wait and find out.
Exactly. So we can lift up. It should peel off cleanly. And then what I'm going to do is use my scraper to clean the mould. So this is taking off any excess chocolate so that we're left with a blank canvas to cap off later to get a really beautiful finish. And again, all this chocolate isn't wasted. I say it a lot because chocolate, we all know chocolate is expensive. Even all this on the slab, I will scrape it off, look, and it'll go into a container and it's called rework. So if you're being very strict with yourself and you've got a business, you should put that in a container and write 64% Manjari, the date you've used it, and call it rework or put a rework batch on it, because that can go, it's going in because it's been used once. Or if you're making a ganache with it, it's there ready to go in a container. And then don't mix it up with your fresh bag. Don't put it back into your fresh bag. That's two different things, if you see what I mean. So this now would go into the fridge, or your cooling fridge, until it releases. No longer than 20 minutes.
Right.
Otherwise you will end up with sugar bloom, which is when it comes out the fridge, it's cold, too cold, air condenses on it, and you get that sugary, sticky layer. If you get that inside your mould, then when you put your ganache in, it's going to go mouldy. It's moisture from the edge, your breath. It's all this stuff around here. You want it really clean. So 20 minutes, we'll check if it's released. At the moment, it's not. They're still dark brown and they don't come out. In 20 minutes, hopefully, that should release.
And what's the ideal temperature to put them in the fridge?
If you only have a fridge at between 5 and 8 degrees, that's fine for 20 minutes.
Okay.
If you have the luxury of a chocolate cabinet, a storage cabinet, then 10 degrees in there means you can put them in, 10 to 12 degrees, and you can actually leave them for quite a long time and they won't get too cold. When I had my business, I had both. Some things were put in the fridge, some things, if we had room in the chocolate cabinet, they would go in there for a lot longer. So, but if you're at home or if you're starting out, pop it in the fridge.
Just 20
Just
minutes.
make sure that in the fridge there is nothing of strong odour. Garlic, onion, last night's dinner, takeaway, anything, because the chocolate will pick it up.
Yeah.
And it'll taste really odd.
Yeah.
Well-
Nobody wants onion chocolates.
No.
Not really. Oh, but caramelised onion, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, so we'll pop it in the fridge and we'll come back in about 20 minutes.
Perfect.
Okay.
So thanks so much to Paul for coming in today. If you'd like to see what we do with the shells that we've just made, click on this link here. You can see us making a water ganache.